Speaking truth into water, that is the doorway. Speaking truth into water is the ancient key that unlocks what logic could never reach. Speaking truth into water is not superstition. It is the simplest path to spiritual transformation. A transformation so deep, it rewrites the story your cells have been telling for years. If you stay with me until the very end, I will not only show you how to do this, but why it works. Why the smallest act, a whispered truth into a cup of water, can begin a chain of miracles in your body, your mind, and your world. I want to be honest with you. For years, I struggled. I prayed, I studied, I tried to transform my life through willpower alone, and I failed again and again. I was teaching these principles, yet not living them fully. Until one night, in total surrender, I discovered something so simple it made me weep. It wasn't about the words themselves. It was about the feeling, the conviction, the state of consciousness I brought to those words. When I combined that inner understanding with a physical act, speaking truth into water and drinking it as an act of faith, everything shifted. That night became the beginning of my own spiritual transformation. And I share it with you now, not as theory, but as testimony. Because I know why you're watching this tonight. You're tired. Tired of trying to change and falling back into old patterns. Tired of positive thinking that doesn't stick. Tired of prayers that echo back in silence. You've read the books, listened to the teachers, maybe even Joseph Murphy himself. Yet the breakthrough still feels out of reach. You want to believe your life can change, but part of you wonders, what if it doesn't? What if these spiritual laws work for others but not for me? Here's the truth, and I want you to feel it deep inside. It's not that the law isn't working. The law is always working. The law of assumption, the law of mind, the law of consciousness, these are constant, like gravity. The problem isn't the law. It's the way we apply it. You've been trying to change your mind with your mind, but that's backwards. Feeling comes first. The subconscious mind, your bridge to infinite intelligence, responds only to feeling, not words alone. For over 30 years, I've watched people transform through manifestation and the deliberate direction of feeling, not through struggle, but through faith practice, through aligning emotion and belief until the subconscious accepts the truth as real. And one of the simplest, most powerful ways I've ever seen that happen is through the water. When you speak truth into water and drink it with conviction, you create a physical anchor for a spiritual reality. The act itself becomes a prayer embodied. You are telling your entire being, this is who I am now. So tonight, before we're done, I will show you exactly how to do it, step by step, so you can begin this transformation before you sleep. Because your life can change, not someday, tonight. When you begin living as though your wish is already fulfilled, when you embody that state in your feeling, you initiate spiritual transformation. And I promise you, stay with me until the end. You will not only understand the law of assumption, but you'll feel its living proof flowing through you. Now, before we go further, I'd love to hear from you right now. Pause for a moment and tell me in the comments, what truth will you speak into your water tonight? Will it be healing, abundance, peace, love? Your declaration may become the very spark that helps someone else believe again. Because together, through shared intention, we create a field of faith, and that field amplifies everything. It's not that the law isn't working. The law of assumption is always at work, silently, faithfully, like gravity. Joseph Murphy called it the law of mind in action. Neville Goddard called it the law of consciousness. Different names, same truth. What you assume and feel as true becomes the shape of your world. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. The outer life is only the photograph. The subconscious mind is the film. And the picture that develops, your body, your finances, your peace, is determined not by the words you say, but by the feeling that lives beneath those words. This is where true spiritual transformation begins, not with force, but with feeling. For years, I thought manifestation was about repetition, saying the right affirmation 1,000 times until it finally stuck. But the subconscious does not hear repetition. It hears state. It listens to the emotional tone of your being. So when you speak the truth into water, you are doing more than saying words. You are shifting your inner weather. You are declaring a new climate. And the law of assumption immediately begins to organize everything in your life to match it. This is not wishful thinking. This is a faith practice, an act of sacred certainty. Joseph Murphy wrote, "The feeling of health produces health. The feeling of wealth produces wealth." He did not say the words of health or the hope of wealth. He said feeling. And when you infuse that feeling into the water, the most receptive substance on earth, you give the subconscious a living symbol. You tell it, receive this truth, multiply it, let it grow through me. That's why this ritual works. It's simple, physical, and deeply symbolic. The water is your mirror. The word is your seed. The feeling is the sunlight. Each morning when you hold that glass, you are rehearsing the end from the beginning, the essence of manifestation. You are already standing in the fulfilled desire, already breathing the atmosphere of your answered prayer. And that is when the subconscious mind says, ah, this is home. I recognize this vibration. Then, without strain or struggle, life rearranges itself around your new assumption. You may call it faith. You may call it vibration. You may call it the power of the spoken word. But it is all the same sacred law, the law of assumption, the law of consciousness, the foundation of every true spiritual transformation. Now, before we move deeper, let me ask you something. Can you feel that quiet stirring inside you right now? That subtle warmth rising as you imagine the life already healed, already provided for, already whole? That is not imagination. That is the law responding. Stay with it. We're going to build on that feeling in the next minutes, because next I will guide you through how to turn that spark into a daily ritual of manifestation so natural, so embodied, that the subconscious cannot help but obey. So take one more breath and picture your hands around that simple glass of water. In a moment, you'll learn how to speak to it, not with words alone, but with the power that created worlds. This is where the transformation becomes real. Let me take you now into the heart of this practice, where words become worlds. The first story I want to share is about healing through consciousness. A woman named Mara had lived for years inside the quiet ache of illness. Her doctor spoke in probabilities, her family spoke in hope, but her heart spoke mostly in fear. She told me she was tired of trying to believe I gave her a single instruction. Stop trying. Start assuming. I told her what Joseph Murphy had written so many times, that the subconscious mind does not argue. It simply accepts what it feels to be true. So Mara began a faith practice that looked absurdly simple. Every morning and every night, she held a glass of water and whispered, "Every cell in my body radiates divine health. I am whole." At first she said the words with tears, not belief, but she kept going, whispering, drinking, resting in that assumption. She didn't try to make it happen. She simply let it be so. And something subtle began to change. The anxiety quieted. Her sleep deepened. The body followed the state. What doctors had called chronic began to dissolve, not by miracle, but by law, because the law of assumption is precise. Whatever you consistently feel as true, your subconscious must reproduce. This was her spiritual transformation. Not a sudden flash of light, but a gentle turning toward life again. Another story. A man I once knew, Daniel, had lived under the weight of financial struggle. Every paycheck arrived already spoken for. Every bill felt like a verdict. He had read The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, but said, "I tried affirmations and they don't work." I told him, "Then stop trying and start embodying." We worked together for 21 days. Every morning he spoke into water, "I am abundance in effortless flow." At first, he didn't feel rich. He felt ridiculous. But day by day, the feeling began to warm him from within. He stopped checking his account 10 times a day, the old habit of doubt. He began blessing what he had instead of resenting what he lacked. That's when the invisible machinery began to move. A colleague called with an unexpected opportunity. An old invoice cleared. Clients who had gone silent suddenly returned. He said to me later, "I didn't manifest money. I manifested a state and money followed it." That's the secret of all true manifestation. You don't chase the shadow, you stand in the light. And there was the student, a young woman whose life was ruled by panic. Exams, social moments, even quiet days felt like storms. She was exhausted from fighting herself. I told her, "Stop fighting. Speak peace." So she began, morning and night, "I am calm. I am safe. All is well." At first, the panic didn't disappear, but it began to obey. The storms still came, but they lasted minutes instead of hours. Then days passed with quiet, then weeks. One morning she wrote to me, "It's strange. I feel like peace has moved in and rearranged my furniture." That is spiritual transformation. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It reorders the invisible until the visible must follow. What ties these stories together is not coincidence. It's law, the law of assumption working through the subconscious mind. Each of these souls performed the same simple act. They stopped petitioning and began assuming. They stopped wishing and began being. When they spoke truth into water, they weren't commanding the universe. They were commanding their inner kingdom. And the universe, being faithful, mirrored that command. This is how faith practice becomes science. The art of feeling the end as real until reality catches up. The water is simply the medium through which consciousness instructs matter. It's a reminder that everything physical is an echo of the unseen. Joseph Murphy said, "The subconscious mind is the builder of the body and the architect of circumstances." So every time you drink from that glass, you are feeding the architect new blueprints. You are saying, "Build this, not the old story. Build this new one." And as you persist, day by day, those blueprints solidify. Peace begins to visit more often. Solutions rise where there were none. You start noticing that the world bends to your inner tone. That is the law of life. That is manifestation. That is spiritual transformation in motion. Now I want to ask you something that can deepen your own journey right now. If you were to choose one truth to speak tonight, one assumption to make sacred, what would it be? Pause this video for a moment and write it in the comments below. you might be amazed how your declaration becomes the seed of someone else's miracle. Because this is not a solo journey. When thousands of us assume the highest together, the field of consciousness vibrates higher. That's not poetry, that's physics of the unseen. So breathe. Feel your heartbeat. Know that this moment, right now, is your first step into a new pattern of being. In the next segment, we'll go deeper into the mechanics of faith, why the subconscious mind must obey what you feel, and how this daily ritual becomes the rhythm of lasting peace. Stay with me. Your spiritual transformation has already begun. Let's open the hidden physics of the unseen, the sacred machinery that makes this practice work. The subconscious mind is the builder of your world. It is not moral or logical. It does not argue or compare. It is a perfect servant, one that obeys the law of assumption without hesitation. Whatever state you hold with conviction, it accepts as fact and begins to reproduce in form. Think of your subconscious as the soil and your assumptions as seeds. You cannot plant thorn and reap rose. You cannot water fear and harvest peace. The soil does not choose, it simply grows what it's given. And this is where the water practice becomes a miracle of simplicity, because water is a mirror, the most receptive substance in the natural world. It takes on vibration, pattern, and memory. It listens. When you speak truth into water, you are symbolically speaking to your subconscious mind. You are impressing the truth upon the very element that makes up 70% of your body. You are giving the inner world a language it understands: vibration, tone, feeling. That's why this is not mere ritual. It is a faith practice, a living form of healing through consciousness. You are joining mind and matter in a single sacred act. The word carries thought. The feeling carries belief. The water carries both into embodiment. This is manifestation in its purest form, not forcing, but flowing. You are not demanding reality to change. You are letting reality reflect who you have already become. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine that consciousness is the sky and your life is the landscape. Whatever clouds the sky holds, peace, fear, love, scarcity, will cast its light or shadow upon the world below. Change the sky and the landscape follows. That is spiritual transformation. Not fixing the outer scenery, but transforming the inner weather. When you bless the water and drink it, you are declaring, "This is my new climate." The law of assumption immediately begins its work, rearranging conditions, circumstances, and even people to mirror your new state. Sometimes the results appear quietly: a phone call, a healing, an idea that solves the unsolvable. Sometimes it arrives like a tidal wave, but always it comes, because consciousness cannot contradict itself. Here's what most seekers miss. They pray for change while staying in the vibration of lack. They affirm abundance while feeling fear. They speak words of faith but live in the posture of doubt. The subconscious mind reads only state. That's why the water ritual matters. It slows you down. It anchors the state before the words. It allows you to taste, to feel, to embody your truth. That is the moment when the inner decree is sealed. It's not the sentence itself that holds the power. It's the felt reality behind it. The sentence is a key, but feeling is the hand that turns it. When Joseph Murphy wrote, "Feeling is the secret," he wasn't speaking poetically. He was describing a universal law of creation. You may notice after a week or two that nothing big has changed yet. That's all right. Seeds germinate in silence. The first sign of manifestation is not the visible result. It's the shift of tone inside you. You'll wake one morning and realize that fear has grown quiet. You'll look at the same world and see it differently. That calm certainty is the first fruit of spiritual transformation. From there, the physical must follow. It is law, because the law of assumption is impartial, perfect, and absolute. It does not respond to need or effort, only to feeling accepted as true. When you understand this, you stop begging the universe to change, and you start being the change itself. You realize the prayer was never to the sky above you, but to the infinity within you. And so this practice, speaking truth into water, is a gentle daily training of faith, a faith practice that reshapes identity from the inside out. Each sip is a rehearsal of your new reality, a conversation between you and the infinite. Over time, the body begins to obey the new idea of itself. The mind begins to quiet. Life becomes cooperative, responsive. You realize that the real miracle is not the manifestation itself. It's who you become in the process. That, beloved, is true spiritual transformation. The outward changes are only the echo of the inner resurrection. In the next chapter, we'll make this sacred knowledge practical, the exact 2-minute ritual you can begin tonight to impress your subconscious mind with power, peace, and purpose. Stay close. The water is waiting. Now that you understand the law of assumption, let's make it alive, because wisdom without action is like a seed that never meets the soil. So tonight, you begin your faith practice, the ritual of speaking truth into water. I want you to imagine the room darkened, just you, a single glass of clear water before you. The same water that has touched mountains, rivers, clouds. The same water that has traveled through time to meet your hands tonight. This is not ordinary water. This is the mirror of your subconscious mind, waiting for instruction. And you, beloved, are its creator. Step 1, the pause. Before you speak, pause. Let the noise of the day dissolve. Feel your breath return to rhythm. You're not trying to fix your life. You're about to speak a new one into being. You are standing at the threshold of spiritual transformation, where consciousness begins to materialize. Take a deep breath in. Let it go. And feel that sacred silence expand inside you. Step 2, the declaration. Now, hold the glass in both hands. Feel the coolness of it, the light shimmering through. And softly, as if speaking to your own soul, say your truth 3 times. Speak it with feeling, with warmth, with conviction. I am healed. I am abundant. I am loved. I am peace. The words can change, but the feeling must remain. This is the pulse of manifestation, the rhythm that the subconscious mind obeys. Each time you speak, feel it deeper. Feel your entire being agree, yes, this is true. If doubt whispers, let it fade like static. Your faith practice is not about effort, it's about trust. Because faith isn't hoping something will happen, faith is feeling it already has. Step 3, the sacrament. Now drink the water slowly, don't rush. Feel it move through you, a river carrying truth into every cell. This is healing through consciousness made visible. It's not symbolic, it's biochemical. Every cell, every drop of water within you is listening, recording, responding. As you drink, imagine this truth flowing through your bloodstream. I receive my good now. I am aligned with infinite intelligence. This is manifestation as Joseph Murphy taught it, not in struggle but in surrender. You are not asking, you are claiming. You are not begging the universe to change, you are realizing it already has. Step 4, the seal of gratitude. When the last drop is gone, close your eyes. Whisper, thank you. Because gratitude seals the creation. It says, it is done. You don't need to check when it will come. You've already received it in consciousness, and the law of assumption will unfold the rest. Now go to sleep in peace. Let the new idea sink into the deep ocean of your subconscious. The moment you surrender to sleep, the mind of infinite intelligence begins to weave your words into form. This entire ritual takes no more than 2 minutes, yet if done with faith, it can reshape the very fabric of your destiny. And to walk even deeper into this path, I want to invite you to something extraordinary, a 21-day challenge to create your dream life based on the timeless teachings of Joseph Murphy, Neville Goddard, and Florence Scovel Shinn. For 21 days, you and I will journey together, morning and night, through the same spiritual laws these masters revealed. You'll practice the art of speaking truth into water, awakening the same spiritual transformation they lived and taught. You'll find the link in the description and the pinned comment below. Join us, because faith grows through rhythm. Consciousness reshapes through repetition. And in 21 days of devotion, you will see the impossible begin to bend, naturally, beautifully, into form. This is how you train the subconscious mind, not through struggle, but through rhythm. Each day becomes a verse in your living prayer. Each sip becomes a step into a new reality. So begin tonight, not tomorrow, not when the world feels perfect, now. Because readiness is a myth, but willingness is creation itself. 21 days, that's all it takes for the invisible to begin shaping the visible, for faith to turn into form, for consciousness to become matter. I have witnessed it countless times, quietly, inevitably. In those who persist for these 21 days, something sacred awakens. Their eyes soften, their breath deepens. They begin to walk differently, not as seekers, but as knowers, because the outer life starts to mirror the inner harmony. What began as a 2-minute ritual, speaking truth into water, becomes a new way of being. It stops being practice and becomes presence. It stops being ritual and becomes rhythm. They no longer beg life to change. They live as though it already has. They no longer plead for miracles. They embody them. This is the completion of the law of assumption, the living truth that Joseph Murphy, Neville Goddard, and Florence Scovel Shinn all declared, that the key to creation is feeling it real. Feeling is prayer. Faith is power. And the subconscious mind, ever faithful, simply obeys the vibration of your assumption. After 21 days, something irreversible begins to unfold. You find yourself calmer in moments that once triggered fear. You notice coincidences lining up like constellations. Opportunities appear without striving. Peace becomes your new normal. That is not magic. It is spiritual transformation. It is healing through consciousness, the quiet rearranging of life in obedience to your inner word. You will know it's working when your gratitude comes first, not last. When your thank you no longer waits for evidence. When you drink your water not to become, but to remember who you already are. That is when the law of assumption fulfills its promise. You are no longer trying to attract, you are allowing. You are no longer reaching, you are receiving. And reality, faithful as always, begins to echo your inner tone. So tonight, before you sleep, hold your glass once more. Whisper your truth as if it were already ancient and proven. I am healed. I am abundant. I am loved. I am peace. Then drink it slowly with reverence. Let it become part of you, because it already is. And as you rest, know that every cell, every atom, every unseen force has heard you. The universe always says yes to the voice that speaks in certainty. If this message has awakened something within you, if you feel the quiet pull of truth vibrating in your chest, then let this be your next step. Subscribe to this channel and walk with us. Here we dive deeper every week into the living wisdom of Joseph Murphy, Neville Goddard, and Florence Scovel Shinn, the timeless principles of faith, feeling, and manifestation. And if you wish to go even deeper, become a member of this channel, a space where we gather in stillness, in guided meditations, and in advanced teachings for those walking the path of conscious creation. Your membership isn't just support, it's participation in a shared field of faith. Together, we are remembering who we truly are. Now close your eyes. Imagine your life not as it was, but as it already is. See it, feel it, believe it, because it is already done. You are no longer waiting for the miracle. You are living it. The water remembers your word. The universe remembers your faith. And your soul remembers the truth. You were never separate from power. You are power in motion. Peace be with you. Love be within you. Abundance surround you. And so it is.